Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to the latest episode of our entertainment show. As you know, in part three of our entertainment show, we run our cult classic Into the Vault series, where we look at every month, we look at iconic TV shows that we define as a cult classic, no matter the genre. So maybe it's a 60s Western, maybe it's a 70s love story, maybe it's 80s horror story, maybe it's a 90s futuristic thriller. Maybe it's a
Yeah.
21st century war genre flick. No matter the genre, no matter the decade, we look into it as long as it distinguishes as a cult classic in our Into the Fall series. And this
Okay.
month we're looking at all detective shows and police detective shows. And we have many throughout the decades. When we think of 90s, we think of Walker, Texas Ranger. When we think of maybe the 80s, we think of Magnum PI, we think of MacGyver. Then before that, maybe the Rockford Files and Starsky and Hutch. But even before that, if even we go back maybe a good few years before that, there was a bald-headed man, Greek by
Yeah.
nature,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
larger than life character, dare I say. And
Yeah.
he came to fame in James Bond, star playing the character Blofeld, and it led to a rise to superiority, stardom, and he broke out with his own detective show called Kojak. Yes, of course, the one and
Oh,
only Telly Savalas. And all this
yeah.
month, we're talking to guest stars who made guest appearances on the hit TV show. And our special guest this evening, he appeared in a number of episodes of Kojak, a double episode, dare I say, which went on to huge variety and huge fame. Not the song by Brian Adams, The Summer of '69, but the actual episode itself, The Summer of '69, Part 1 and Part 2, which aired on December the 4th, 1977, and December the 10th, 1977. He played the character Quaid. In terms of the search for the clothesline killer. And he also made his first appearance in Kojak way back in season 2, 1974. You can't, the episode was called You Can't Tell a Hurt Man How to Holler. It aired
Yeah.
on October the 27th, 1974, season episode 8. He played one of the main guest stars. The episode was about him. He played a fantastic name, Hawthorne Yancey. Yes, of course, we're talking about the one and only Harrison Page. And if you're wondering where that name rings a bell, all you got to do is go back to the 1990s, the blockbuster movie Lionheart with Jean-Claude Van Damme. He played the guy pulling Jean-Claude Van Damme's strings, the character Joshua. Yes, the one and only Harrison Page. Harrison, good day to you, sir.
Good day to you. I love your accent.
Very good, very good. And Harrison, delighted to have you with us there today. And I've spoken to a number of guests so far, from Gianni Ricci to Raymond Singer to Lee Bryan to Jason Sudeikis to Stephen McHattie so far, who are all appearing on this on our series of Kojak. And their impressions of Telly Savalas. They all seem to ring a bell. They all seem to have the same thing to say. A guy that was very precise, a guy that was very slick. What you see is what you got. A
Yeah.
guy that was on time, left on time, had places to go, had places to be, had ladies waiting for him,
Yeah.
sort of stuff like that. And a guy that sort of took everything in his stride. Is that a fair assessment, or would you like to add something different to that?
No, no, that's a fair assessment. That was him. That was him.
And tell me, the first time ever meeting Telly Savalas for you, Harrison Page, did it leave a
Mhm.
mark on you? Did you think that this is a guy that I'm going to remember? Dare I say, or has he that aura about him?
Well, the one thing you can say about Telly Savalas is that he had presence. I mean, he was charismatic, no doubt about it. And what you saw on the screen basically is who he was. He's a very cool guy. He played a lot of villains, and he was very good at it. He was always a little bit like, in the Dirty Dozen, you were a little bit shifty and a little bit dangerous in what he did. But he was like that in person. I felt that from him. He was in charge. He inspired me in some ways is that he didn't seemingly have any insecurities. I'm sure he must have had at some point or another or somewhere in his life, but I didn't see any. He was right there and he had that sucker in his mouth all the time.
And tell me, in terms of Telly on set, the impression got out when the cameras were rolling, he was in his groove, but there was no waiting around with Telly Savalas. Once the cat when it things when someone said cut, Telly was out like a bolt, dare I say. Is that a fair assessment? Were you taken back by that in terms of seeing that with your own eyes that
Yeah,
main star, leading star was say bye bye, see you later. I'm
yeah,
off.
that was him. That was him. You do a shot or and right after that was over, he was gone. You don't know where he went, but that he definitely there was no there was no fooling around. I don't think I ever saw him socializing with anybody. I think he was a very private guy. I remember seeing him once on the outside of that show, and that particular day we had to go to I had to go to a hospital for something or another, but he actually was there. And he looked at me as he knew me, he knew who I was. I'd done that show. And he kind of looked at me like, what are you doing here? At that time I was very young, I was about 33 years old. And it was kind of shocked to me to see that he was actually a human being and something was happening with him on a medical level.
Mm. And did you ever saw to him? I know that Kojak he had his brother involved and he had close friends playing the main guest members. But even towards them, did he ever strike you as a conversationalist? Did you ever have deep conversations when the cuts were taking, or did you feel his brother George was more of a talker?
Uh, as I remember, and that's 50 years ago,
Okay.
his brother was more of an outgoing person than Telly was. I mean, he had a humor thing going. I remember he had that curly hair. Telly had no hair.
Mm.
But no, I didn't think of him as somebody who was who socialized. I didn't have any personal uh, uh, conversations with him about anything. He would say after we've done a scene, he would say, "Yeah, good work, good work, good work, good work, good, good, good. See you later," or something. But he wasn't that social. No.
Harrison, your first role in Kojak, fantastic name. I love the name. Hawthorne Yancey.
Yeah.
Tell us about this guy. He seems to be, when I see that name, I think a hick. I think a guy who's maybe a bit innocent and dare I say a pawn in a bigger game. Is that a fair reflection? Or tell me about this character, Hawthorne Yancey, and his role. Because as far as I know, he was deemed to be a murderer, and Kojak believed that he was a small fish being played out to sea by the bigger sharks.
Yeah, no, he was a small fish. He followed. He never led. He followed. He was told what to do, and he did it to the best of his ability. I thought he's a very sensitive guy, who's in love with this girl and stuff, and he had obviously had emotion because you see in the episode that he does weep when he's being chased. So he's kind of this weak kid who didn't know anything, and people have to tell him what to do. I had to find in me that that I guess you would call it part of me that was open and that was rather weak in many, many ways. I think you said innocent. That's the word I think I could use for him. Innocent.
And tell me, Harrison, back in the 70s, I know we're going back a long time. You probably done some work too. Landing an episode on Kojak, your first episode on Kojak, obviously a major TV show, seen all across United States and Canada, cable TV into season two as well. A very big deal. And do you feel that maybe it could have? Did you see it as a launching pad for you as well?
Well, I don't know about a launching pad, but In those days, I was doing parts like that. I had done some other shows where I played the kid, like a show called Mannix back in those days. I think I played the same kind of a kid that I did on Kojak. Uh, it was it certainly it was a part that made people, pay attention to what I do. Because after that show, after that guest shot, and after the Mannix guest shot, I went on to do another show called I think Super. No, 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 it wasn't Super Train. It was Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. It was around that area, and I played a lawyer in that thing, a young lawyer, law student that was, and I was kind of playing the kid all the time. But I got work. I started to get very busy after that. People paid attention. Yeah.
And coming back to Kojak the second time and those double episodes of Summer of '69, and dare I say, those double episodes, in terms of the guest cast list for this, you had an all-star guest cast list. It was stacked with an awful lot of top names. Even, God forbid, TC, the one and only Roger E. Mosley, guest starred with you in that episode as well, no longer with us. In terms of Magnum PI and sort of stuff
Oh yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
But those episodes, it seems to me looking on at those that those were two big production episodes, those sort of sequels, and an awful lot of investment went into that. And was that was that sort of take on Kojak? Was that very demanding? Was it very sort of heavy loaded with all the guest stars and everything going on?
No, I can't say that. My thing was I was just trying to do the best work I could do. I was trying to make sure that I was a little intimidated, but not a whole lot, but I was a little intimidated. And what Roger Mosley, you mentioned, was an imposing guy, and he played a guy who was in charge, a guy who was strong. So I had to play the guy who looked up to him, because as you remember, the end of the thing, he really turned out to be a real a-hole. So, but I just mostly paid attention to what I was doing.
And tell me your time on Kojak playing the in particular character Quaid and the first time Hawthorne. Was there a good lot of stunt scenes involved? And did you get to do your own stunts on Kojak, or did they have stunt doubles? Speaking to one or two guests so far, it was a mix of both. They did half and half. Well, how about you? Did you have any action sequences on Kojak, and did you want to do them yourself, or did the producers, directors, have someone step in for you at certain times?
Well, now Quaid, that was the thing where the guy was a prize fighter, right?
Mm.
Isn't that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah, no. In that piece, we had stunt people who taught me how to box. We worked on the bag. They wanted to make sure I looked like a professional. So in that stuff, I did my own stunts.
Okay,
In
fantastic.
the first one, I had where I was. The other thing was tell don't well, you can't tell a hurt man how to holler. In that particular episode, I had a guy who was doing a lot of running for me. As a matter of fact, I had a scene in there where I had to run, I had to jump over a hill,
Mm.
and I landed on my ankle, and for the rest of the film, I was limping. I don't know whether you saw it or not, but I got hurt because I did my own stunts, and so I told the stunt coordinator, I said, "Listen, I think from now on, you probably should have somebody do that stuff because it's going to look better, and I'm not doing too well with my ankle." So a lot of it, and I learned a lesson from that. Don't do my own stunts.
Okay. And tell me, Harrison, you appeared on an awful lot of TV shows throughout the decades, throughout heading into the 80s as well. Do you always feel, I know an actor, a job's a job, and you move on. But did you always feel that with your time on Kojak, it was slick and polished, and maybe even sometimes even more slicker and polished than maybe projects you did maybe later in the 80s, that maybe that Kojak left a mark on you to say that, yeah, this is, I can see why this is widely respected, and it was sort of well run, to maybe to other shows that you had high hopes for that maybe didn't leave its mark on the industry.
Oh, okay. Well, I think I understand what you're saying. You're possibly saying that did I grow as an actor? When I by the time I did shows like later on, like Ally McBeal, Jag, and some of those things later, I had learned a great deal about how to deal with the camera, how to make sure that I didn't move too much, didn't make a lot of, unnecessary movements because the camera's on your face, and if you're wiggling around, if you're being jumpy and stuff, it's going to look weird. So about the technique of working in front of a camera, I got a lot better. But I will say this to you, even to this very day, I'm still trying to learn. My whole life is about trying to learn more how to be a better actor. As that kid, and I say kid, in my 30s, but I played these young boys that were like 18, 19 years old. Um, he basically was doing everything on impulse. I didn't have a lot of training. I had some training, but not a lot. And by the time I studied a lot after that, and I learned a little bit more about acting and how to be a real human being on the camera. Did I
And
answer your question?
yeah. And tell me, Harrison, in terms of larger than life characters and egos and celebrities, getting a taste of it early on in your career, getting a taste of the likes of Telly Savalas and big
Mhm.
characters, big larger than life personalities, claim to fame as well. And as you went on later on in your career and you got to work with bigger names, and just take, for example, Jean-Claude Van Damme back in 1990 in Lionheart. Did you know how to click with these guys by the time you worked with John Claude Van Damme in 1990, a big star, big attitude, big larger than life character? Did it come easy for you in terms of, because you had experienced these big guys, and were you able to connect with John Claude Van Damme straight away, dare I say, because of your experience of working with the likes of a Telly Savalas in the past? And dare I say, Telly Savalas and John Claude Van Damme, could you put them in the same sentence? Do they have an awful lot of similarities?
No, not really. Telly was a very, very polished actor. What he was doing on the screen was very strong. It was specific, which we always talk about as actors. You have to be specific. You have to know what it is you're supposed to be doing. Telly had that all the way. Jean-Claude, to a large degree, was a different type of an actor in that he had not been here in the States very, very long. And, he was French, or I think he didn't like to be called French. I think he liked to be called, what was that country he's from? Whatever it was. Um, he came with very little, he didn't have a whole lot of skills, but there was something about him. He was quiet, he was intense. And the character that I played with him, I had to try to see if I could adjust to be a little more humorous so that, with his character being so quiet and so intense, it actually gave us both a lot of chemistry. So I found a way to play around, to dance around, to not literally dance, but just to be quick on my feet, because those two things together it's very powerful. So Jean-Claude Van Damme, I'm really happy that I worked with him because I learned a great deal about my ability as an actor. I was a whole lot better actor by the time I got to that part. And a lot of times he didn't know what I was going to say or do, and that's the way I wanted it. I think I was better, much better as an actor.
And Harrison Page, tell me what's life like today in the world of Harrison Page? Are you still very much active, or are you still very much in that sort of world, or what's life look like heading into 2025 for Harrison Page?
Oh wow. Well, I mean, I don't know. That's a hard question to a degree. Simple but hard. Things are good. I write now. I write scripts. I write books. I'm looking forward to the future of doing something really good. I've got something that I've written that I want to put on the screen. Um, I live, kind of a solemn life. I get you, the word solemn fits. And I'm a very private person. My life is still going forward. I'm still learning more. I'm still reaching for that place that I wanted to get to when I started. And I think that's healthy. Always having something to reach for, I think makes me want to get up in the morning. So this is where I'm at. It's been slow for me acting wise. I'm older now. I'm not that little kid anymore, but it's still there. And I'm still just as excited about being an actor as I was way back when in 1974.
And Harrison Page, we leave the last two sentences for you. If you can summarize your experience of your time on set of Kojak, maybe it's an interaction with Telly, maybe it's a particular scene or something that's left a lasting memory with you. If you summarize that into two sentences that you would like people to know about your time on Kojak and overall in the impression on you, what would you like those two sentences to read?
Oh wow, I don't know, man, 50 years ago. I think when I think back on that and the scenes that I had with Telly Savalas, I think I'd like to leave with um, I really respected Telly. Whenever we worked together, I felt something, always felt something. Maybe it was his intensity, maybe it was his danger, I don't know, but I felt something with him. And I think it made me a better actor in that particular episode. I think that's the only thing I can say about that. I always believed him. He was a very believable actor. And it's not two sentences, but that's it.
Yeah. Perfect. On that note, all that's left to say is from me, Jim Conlan, a special thank you to our special guest this evening, Harrison Page. He appeared on three episodes of Kojak, the double episode, the summer of '69, part one and part two, which aired on December the 4th and December the 10th, 1997. And before that, we go back to his first episode, Hawthorne, where he played the character Hawthorne Yancey, and You Can't Tell a Hurt Man How to Holler, which aired on October 27th, 1974. And as we know, Harrison has done many projects throughout the years. All that's left to say is from me, Jim Conlan, a special thank you to Harrison Page. Stay safe, take care, and God bless, sir.
Thank you.